Hey everyone, welcome to this GT vlog report, I guess we can call it. I'm attending my very first GT this weekend. It's a 5-round event, and super excited about this. It is my first event of this scale, 2 days of gaming. I've attended a few other smaller events, or just a single day, 3 rounds. So super excited to get a ton of 40K in this weekend. I wanted to talk about my list and what I'm expecting, my expectations going into it. Then obviously we're going to jump ahead, get a few clips of the action. I'm going to recap each match as best as I can and talk about what went well. Hopefully not a ton of what didn't go well, but obviously we'll definitely address that as it's the only way to improve as a player. So looking at my list, here's what we got going into this GT. So obviously it is not the new Tyranids. This video should be out the week following the GT. So April 2nd, 3rd is the dates for the event. So new book obviously not in play. So giving a last hurrah to everything we currently have, as we don't know the status of Crusher and the Leviathan supplement. So I want to take full advantage of that, as well as my beloved Tyranids. So I don't know how he's going to play out in the new book. And I just love the model. It's a giant flying dragon. It's so cool. So I just want to give it one last run simply because I love it. So it's 2,000 points of Leviathan and Crusher Stampede. So in my HQ slots, we have my Warlord, who is a murder tyrant with monstrous scything talons. He has murderous size. I used Alpha Beast from the Leviathan supplement to get an extra Warlord trait, which was exchanged for murderous size. Kept Rampaging Beast as his Warlord trait. So loads of attacks coming from him. For powers, I went with Psychic Scream and Onslaught to give me some offensive push if he jumps up to do some smiting. Previously, I was running the Crusher powers on him, but I think buffing the other way is going to be the play. And Swarmlord is the one rocking the Crusher abilities as well. So I think that's it for the Tyrant. It's double monster scything talons as well, so getting that extra attack. So that's it for my Warlord there. Then we got Swarmy with Aggressive Surge and Synaptic Barrier, so he's going to be doing some buffing. And I swapped them around because ideally he's going to be getting launched in first, close by to Swarmlord. Then after that, ideally a Hero Duel will be launching in, or depending if he comes back. So bonus attacks going either way. And then moving into my elites, I brought the Malceptor. I've found the Malceptor just for the defensive buffs with the -1 strength. If I don't get first turn, obviously I'm running a lot of toughness 8 here. It is 2 CP, it's a little pricey, but not getting first turn, and depending on who I'm playing against, it could very well come into play. Like if my Harridan can survive along with the Tyrant for at least 2 to 3 turns, I'm very likely going to do a ton of damage. So that's the move with him. Plus it's just more psychic output, and a big thing, he has Catalyst as well. So getting +1 to cast, really want Catalyst to go off, especially on Harry or my Hive Tyrant, depending on what's being threatened. So again, just a little extra oomph with that. And then also I needed a monster because I have 3 warriors here, and then swapping a bit out. Like I could add a few more things, but then he gets kind of tight as you add other models, because if you took him out, put a Northrop in, they would need something else. Would probably be a small unit, which 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, you could probably put it in, but I don't know. Malceptor is working for me. I love it. I'm also loving the new rules for him, but that's in a different video to talk about. Then we got 3 warriors, all with Bioweapon Bond, 2 with Adrenal Glands. They don't have it, so the unconverted guys in the little buildings appearing, they were once my lictors once upon a time, but they are back down to base warriors. Then we got double sight Hero Duels. No upgrades on them, just running the way they are made. And that's the list. And obviously the Harridan, and also spending a CP to get Dermic Symbiosis on him. So the one time I ran him without it, I really missed it. So obviously want to get that, just always shooting in top brackets. So keep him pumping the damage out. So that's it. Loads of tough lists in this event. Lots, and not just lists, lots of good players too. So for my expectation, I really just want to go, an absolute win for me is going to be going 4-1. Like I said, there's a lot of tough players, some tough matchups for me. The new Harlequins are in there, the new Tower there. There's I think 3 Harlequins, maybe 4. I'm not 100% sure. And I haven't played against either of them yet. I've seen some videos, and Gord on the channel hasn't played. We haven't got a game in a while, much overdue. The Space Wolves, Imperial Guard, and Tau, if you definitely remember, before we used to game a ton. So he's been filling me in a little bit on the talent, kind of what to expect. So they're going to hurt. They're going to be a challenge. I really do think I can take them on, but I need a good alpha. I need to get in and do some damage, and then hopefully my Maleceptor can help withstand the initial volley coming in. So it's going to be a good matchup either way. Then there's, of course, Custodes are in there too. I really do think I can take Custodes, especially with the builds that are there. There's a few bikes, and the bikes are my biggest fear, because not shooting bikes with the Harridan means no transhuman, which means a good chance the Harridan can kill something. Bikes of transhuman just ruin the Harridan. So either way, like I said, it's I definitely think I can pull it off. Going to be tough games for sure, but want to go in optimistic and feeling confident. So again, going 4-1 to me would be essentially winning the event in my eyes, especially for my first GT. So that's my end goal. Realistically, I think 3-2 is also still super respectable, and that is what I'm striving for. Obviously, 4-1 and doing better than that obviously would be very cool. But again, just want to go in optimistic. I think going 3-2 is the realistic point of what may happen. It's hard to say. The Harridan, it does shake up a few lists, shake it up for a few lists playing against it. But optimistically going for that 4-1. Either way, as long as I give a good game and my opponent has a good game as well. Obviously, I want to do good, but I personally really love challenging games because it makes you a better player, especially in an event like this and for my first one. So that's kind of my expectations going in. There's a few other lists in there too that are insanely troop heavy, OBSEC heavy, I'll even say that. So they may be a challenge. I got my hero duels with the Flamers, which could come really in clutch. And then the Harridan, like we all know, he could just pop big threats relatively easily, depending on what they are. So yeah, so that's it. So that's the list going in. So it's tomorrow, just about to pack everything up, get prepped, and yeah, then we'll be off. And we'll watch a few clips. I'll try and grab as much as I can. Like I've said multiple times, it's my first GT, so I'm going to do my absolute best to grab some video. I may just end up grabbing a few pictures and doing a voiceover talking about the matchups once we get there. So wish me luck, everyone. Obviously this has already happened, but moving into the video, hopefully the luck that you wish will bring about a good result for the Tyranids if you're cheering for the Tyranids. So let's jump in and take a look at this GT. All right, everyone, so it's round 1 of the tournament. So first match for me is a mirror match against Tyranids. So a bit of an interesting setup that we got going on here, being that we both know exactly what one another's army is. So in terms of kind of looking at what the opponent has and trying to plan on how to prep for it, we were both pretty prepared for that. So that part was kind of funny for both of us. So the mission we were playing is Data Scry Salvage, which is hold 2, hold 3, hold more, and Data Intercept is a part of that as well. And then for secondaries, I went with Engage on all fronts. As I mentioned before, when I talked about the list. My plan is to use like the Tyrant and the Harridan to take ground, and it should be a fairly easy objective to take part in. I was debating on Stranglehold for this event for a few of the layouts. This is a 6 objective mission, so not the most ideal, but I am a little bit short on bodies, and what I do have on the table is generally playing a bit more of the aggressive role and trying to pressure the opponent down and then kind of crush the late game is the whole goal. And then it was bring them down, obviously, 15 points on the board for my opponent's setup. And to the last for me includes the Harridan, one of my Scythe hero duels, and Swarmlord. And my opponent took the exact same thing because, well, bring them down is max for him. And to the last was his Dimikaran, Barbed hero duel, and the Carnifex Brood. So that's it. So now taking a quick look at the list, you know mine. So let's talk about what he had. So it was a Crusher Stampede and a Spearhead Detachment and High Fleet Leviathan. Then we had a Hive Tyrant kitted out with a Heavy Venom Cannon. The Synaptic Hive Blades had all the good powers from Crusher Stampede and Murderous Size. We got Swarmlord in there with some buffs. Or debuffs, I should say, Paroxysm and Psychic Scream. 6 warriors with Talons and Death Spitters, and one with the Venom Cannon, and another 3 warriors in there, Bare Bones with Scything Talons. Both had Bioweapon Bond, both units. Now Scepter with Focal Essence, and Catalyst, Dimikaran Barbed hero duel, and a Carnifex Brood with Enhanced Senses, Heavy Venom Cannon, Death Spitters, and Spore Cysts on 2 of them. Then we had the Exocrine, so tons of shooting from my opponent, and looking for more of a kind of a slow blast you type of list with the Dimikaran and the Hive Tyrant taking the forward part of it. So right up front, I'm going to apologize for the lack of photos, just kind of the battlefield. I'm going to try and do a better job for the next GTAs. I'm obviously going to be attending as many as I possibly can. But it was my first one, and just so absorbed in everything, I did my best to just take photos of my opponent's army, a little bit of the table here. So that's one thing up front that I will improve for my GT or tournament recaps in general, as I want these to be engaging and give you a good look about what's going on. And as I talk through the game and my strategies, you'll be better able to visualize it as well. So we'll just kind of have to go with what we got here, and you'll have to listen to me and use your imagination just a little bit. So hopefully you don't mind that and you still enjoy this video. So now for the game, it came down to who is going to go first, as Tyranids are very good at killing Tyranids, which is, for this kind of matchup, is good for whoever gets to go first. So unfortunately for him, I won the roll-off, and we started the game off with the Harridan flying forward. My primary target was to take out Swarmlord, and then position all of my units just far enough away that his flying Hive Tyrant and Dimikaran would have trouble reaching me without a very big charge. And then I sent my Flyrant after his Carnifexes. I was able to kill one between Psychic, breaking through, and then the other one was taken out in melee, and then I overran to safety with my Hive Tyrant. And that's pretty much how the game went, unfortunately for him. Getting the first drop and killing his ability to launch units forward, I was able just to kind of chew everything apart and take very little return damage in the end. I believe the only thing he took out from me was one of my Scythe hero duels, not one of my to the last ones, but in taking that hero duel out, it actually exploded and killed his Hive Tyrant in combat. And that was it for my casualties. I think I might have lost a warrior as well, but again, on a whole, I got to take the aggressive front having first turn, and unfortunately that's what really dictated the outcome of this match. So we had a final score of 99 to 15 to start me off on a very high note for this event. And with that score, it set me up to face a tough opponent in the next round. So now we're going to jump into round 2 and take a look what happened there. All right, so after that very strong finish, we went up against one of the armies I was hoping to breeze through and not face, but inevitably it was going to happen. I don't mean to sound like I'm mad that I had to face him, because I was really looking forward to testing my ability against this very powerful army that is the Harlequins. So here we are taking on the Harlequins in round 2. We'll talk about the mission very quick. So it was recover the relics, hold 1, hold 2, and more. And then the mission was break them body and soul was the other part of the primary objective. So you get points for killing stuff. So that's perfect for my list, as well as I need to kill as many of those Harlequins as I can. So for secondaries, I went for the same as the first mission. They're kind of my go-tos for this build. I feel very confident with it, and to be honest, the vast majority of matches I have played with this list, I've done well with those secondaries, so we're going to stick with them for now, and I think I can confidently do well against the Harlequins with this. And being that there's not too many other secondaries that would take place of these against them. Bring them down was the only one that I was kind of on, but I think there was a max of 11 points, I think it was, with that 11 or 12. But again, I'm not too great at doing actions, and with the speed of the Harlequins and the ability to zip around and take up my OBSEC if I was looking to do any act, when I say OBSEC, my warriors, to do any actions like that. So didn't want to risk anything like that and just focus on killing stuff, because I, again, have to do that anyway with the primary objective. Harlequins went with Stranglehold, Bring Them Down, and a Deadly Performance, which I believe was just jumping into my deployment zone, something like that. So again, really plays with their playstyle. So the list that we were up against here, it was a dark, the Harlequins were dark for their characteristic, or whatever that's called. So he had 2 Shadow Seers, they had Mirror Minds, one of them had the Laughing God's Eye, which was a relic, and the other had the Ghoul Mask, and then we had our Troop Master with the Sigarox Rose, we're going to say, hopefully I said that right. Then we had 6 Troop Squads with 2 Fusion Pistols in each one. Then moving into the old boats, oh sorry, and there was also a Death Jester in there as well in the Elites section. Then we had Heavy Support. We had a total of 6 Void Weavers, a unit of 3, a unit of 2, and then a lone Void Weaver kicking about. And then we had 6 Star Weavers. So yes, 12 points on the board there for Bring It Down, because each one is worth a single point. So this was going to be a tough matchup. I knew that going into it. Not only am I facing the Harlequins, my opponent is a very skilled player at that. So I had to face the combo of a very strong army in a very skilled player's hands as well. So to start this game off, I was really hoping for first turn. Lost the initiative roll though, and the Harlequins got to make the first play. Now looking at the deployment in the little clip that you saw beforehand, just showing the table, that was essentially the deployment that we had. I think that was actually after the first turn of movement, but generally everything kind of was where they were. The one mistake that I made is I should have been a little bit more defensive with my Scythe Hero Duel. I deployed to be very aggressive, and in the end it came back to bite me, as he got first turn and was able to drop my To the Last Hero Duel down to, I think 2 wounds it was, 2 or 4 wounds. It was crippled, very weak. So I had to hide it in the back rune with my warriors on my backfield objective, and it pretty much sat there for the vast majority of the game. So I was down one of my big monsters early, and that definitely hurt me. Being that it has those flamers, and once those transports are popped, those flamers is what I need to cook up the troops. But not having that up there really hurt. So I should have deployed more defensively and forced his hand a little bit. He still probably would have been able to shoot it with the Void Weavers, but they would have had to really commit coming over to the left side of the table, which again would have favored me in allowing more of my monsters and powers to get off near them. So that was one lesson I learned. I play my list very aggressively, and in the past, a lot of the opponents I faced, my aggression has rewarded me, but playing a faction that hits hard and is also so fast was a little bit of a switch up. So that was one big thing that I came out of this game having learned. Now, into the match. So the first turn, that's pretty much all that happened. My Maleceptor was dropped down a few wounds. Aside from that, With It the Storm, pretty well. My other Hero Duel, I think, lost 2 or 3 wounds. Nothing too bad, but took a tiny bit of a beating. Now, into my turn, we got a good clap back here, and this is where I felt very confident. And then this is debatably my most enjoyed game of the weekend, and I felt very good about this game for this reason. So for the first turn, my Harridan fired in, blew up the 3-boat squad of the Void Weaver, so that was incredible. So some very decent luck coming up on my end there. And then I positioned my Hero Duel for a bit of a risky move. My Tyrant, I held it back just a little to get out of deny range of his Shadow Seers, and I got Onslaught off on my Hero Duel who I had advanced with, and it was in position to make, I think, a 7-inch charge with it. And then I launched my Tyrant in with the Swarmlord to get in at the other Void Weavers and also some of the Star Weavers, the transport ones. So I made the charge with my Hive Tyrant, tagging, I think it was 3 of the boats all together. There's a little clump in the middle. And then my Hero Duel also made the charge. So I ended up killing all of the Void Weavers in the first turn. So that's 6 boats there, the heavy support ones. And then my Tyrant took out think it was another 2 of the other ones. So I think it was 8 boats actually I killed on the first turn. So huge start to the game. And then after that, my opponent actually sat down and took a look at this, and he said to me that well, as much as that sucks, he said he loves it because now he's like, we've got a game in our hands. He's like, now I have to think about what I have to do, which was great because it actually turned this from just being a slaughter fest of the Harlequins running me over to actually being in the match here. So it felt really good to have a shot at winning the game, playing against such a tough army. Because I know a lot of people have gone up against it and there's not much chance. So I felt really good. Got pretty lucky on my first turn there, and it was a good hit back to take myself back into the game after having one of my hero duels essentially taken out of mission. But unfortunately, when all those little guys come piling out and everyone jumped out of the boat, it was a lot of fusion guns and a lot of shots coming in. So he got very lucky with the smite going off at my Hive Tyrant, doing 6 mortal wounds to him. So he took a huge hit there, dropped to half wounds right away. And then my hero duel didn't survive the hail of fusion guns coming in. Only a few actually got through. However, he rolled very high on his damage rolls, and there's not a ton I can do about that, unfortunately. So hero duel was taken out by the mass amount of fusion shots coming in. Actually took everything to take it out, and then my Hive Tyrant was finished off. I think it was in melee. It was finished off by the Troop Master, if I remember right. But either way, lost 2 of my big hitters early. However, we took out a lot of the boats. We are sitting good, but there's a ton of those bodies on the field. And now I'm down both of my flamers. Well, I'm down 1. The other one is way out of position and worth 5 points, keeping it alive. So I held that guy back. Now, into my turn, I used the Harridan to blow up a few more of the boats. He also had one of his other boats charge in and kill my warriors on my right-hand objective. And this was the mission where if we didn't control these objectives, we didn't get a CP. So I actually missed it, I think, on 2 turns of getting CP at a point where I really needed it, which was unfortunate. Again, not having tons of obsec bodies really hurt me here. And not being able to bully my opponent as much as I normally would with this style list certainly hurt when it came to holding objectives for these mission-specific areas. But for the rest of the game, it was pretty much me trying to play catch-up. He just had so many bodies on the table. The Harridan actually lived to the bottom of turn 4, and hilariously, he shot it with, or he actually smited, or used his psychic. He did mortal wounds to it in the psychic phase, and it flew up to the top left-hand side of the table by Swarmlord, who had made it all the way over there. His Troop Master was coming to get Swarmlord. He jumped out and advanced and charged from the other side of the, or advanced to charge from the other side of the table, being ridiculously fast. He was only 6 inches away from Swarmy. I had a troop squad on my objective by my Malceptor, who were engaged with it pretty much the whole game. And then my warriors are over there as well. So the Harridan died, blew up, rolled an 11 for the distance that it blew up, ended up killing his Troop Master. It did 6 wounds mortals to my Swarmlord, killed off my injured warrior squad, and killed my Malceptor. So it was hilarious, but what a turn of events. Had the Harridan not died there, because he actually, I don't think he had any other fusion. Like, it was the smites or nothing, because the Harridan was still in the air. And it took it out. And had that Harridan stayed, I would have had so many. It was on its bottom bracket, because I think it was at 4 wounds at the time. But having that to the last and the opportunity to shoot things, I could have flew it off the table, saved myself a few points, or used it to help clear off remaining troops that were lurking around the table. But unfortunately, just not enough. And then from there, my Swarmlord getting injured, that really crippled me, as I lost a little bit of movement there, and being down to 6 wounds hurt. So in the very end of everything, my hero duel in the back was taken out, although he did roast up, I think, a troop squad and a half. But the Harridan blowing up, killing all that stuff was just, it was too much damage on my end. So lots of bring them down points awarded to him there. And in the end, Swarmlord and that hero duel were the last ones alive for me, and they fell at the bottom of turn 5. And I think he had the 2 Shadow Seers, the Death Jester, and I think a troop and a half unit left. There was not a lot left on the table. Like, I had him down to the very end of what he had. Unfortunately, though, he took an early lead against me, and the end score was 93 to 53. So the score, unfortunately, doesn't reflect how tense this match was. It was an absolutely amazing game. I think it was the highlight of my event. Being able to give such a strong faction a good match like that was wicked, even with the loss. So nothing but good things to take away from this match. Learned a lot, And it's always, and I never mind losing as long as I learn something. And again, always give my opponent a good game. I don't mind taking a loss so long as I can do that. So we are 1-1, moving into round 3 of the event. So I picked myself up. Let's head into round 3 and get back on the positive here for the. All right, here we are, round 3, and we're up against some orcs. Tons of mechanized orcs in this list. Unfortunately, it's a pretty tough matchup to go against my particular Tyranid wrist, especially with Harridan, who excels at killing this style of unit. So we're playing Tide of Conviction. It's hold 1, hold 3, or sorry, hold 2, hold 3, hold more, with overrun, holding the opponent's objectives on their side of the table. And then I went with my same 3 secondaries, because to be honest, they would have done well for me in the previous match against the Harlequins, but again, it was my deployment at the start that I think messed me up. Losing that that hero duel out of the game early really hurt me, as I lost on the flamers and being a bit more aggressive, so I had to turtle up a little bit more because of that. So that was a mistake I wasn't looking to make again. So still objectives I felt confident on scoring high with, so I stuck with them. Orcs went with engage, bring them down, and retrieve Nachmund data. So if we take a look at the orc list here, we'll run through everything they had. So they were Death Skulls. We had a War Boss with a super cyborg body, 2 units of 10 boys, a Knob with a Wog banner, Storm Boys, 2 units of them, 5 of them, a Mega Dread. And then we had a Big Mech in Mega Armor, then 2 units of Death Dreads with 3 and 2 in each of those units. And then another unit of a Lone Depth Dread. Then we had 3 units of Killick Hands, 6 in each, 1 fully with rocket launches. The other 2 had 2 Scorches, and then all kitted out with big shooters and their Can Claw, whatever the melee thing's called. So like I said, this was just a rough matchup. My opponent knew it going into it. He's like, this is going to be a rough game. But again, in good spirits at all with everything. So just said he was going to see what he can do. Unfortunately, he had nothing really. He had next to nothing for shooting, and he had no way of actually charging the Harridan. So the Harridan, nothing to do with that. That big old dragon was flying around the whole game, blasting stuff. And again, there's not a whole lot he could do to really prevent that. So every turn, he essentially popped 6 of the Killick Hands, and then cleaned up with vehicles in the end. So the final score for this one was 83 for the Tyranids to 38. Not much I would have changed my play style on this one. I definitely was very aggressive. I did end up losing one of my to the last, my Scythe Hero Duel, but that was due to a teleporting Killick Hand unit, and I didn't have a ton of things to screen out with that, and he did make a big charge, and he actually just barely killed it too. I think there was 1 Killick Hand left in the melee, and my Hero Duel fell just barely, like right down to the last wound. Had it have lived, I would have got to hit back first and finish off the last can. So not too bad overall. Like I said, I don't think it would have changed too much about my playstyle for this one. It was a good matchup for me, so a good way to go back onto the positive and go 2-1 for the first day of the competition. So we're going to jump into day 2, see if I can keep the win streak going, or start a win streak, I should say, now that we've got a win back on the board. But first, let's take a look at some of the tables here on day 2 of this tournament, and then we'll jump into my round 4. All right, folks, so here we are, round 4. So getting that win in the last match put me back up to the top of the leaderboard, or not top, but in the top area of the leaderboard, I should say. I think I was sitting at 5th or 4th at this point in the tournament. So with some decent scorings, even though I lost a round, still got some respectable points on the board, then nice high scores in my other games. So I was up against Pure Eldari in this one. So this mission was conversion, hold 1, hold 2, hold more, and the mission secondary was conversion, which is just hold objectives in the middle, and I think your home objective. I went with my same 3 secondaries. Again, I haven't found a fault with these yet, so I feel confident with them. We're going to keep it going and go from there. Now, I will say the bring them down one was tough to go with that because, or sorry, not bring them down. Assassinate is the one I mean to say. So having gone with Assassinate, he only had 3 characters, so only able to get 10 points with that. Now, the one thing is it was tough. Like, do I go with that, or do I try an action one? But he had so many units I could forward deploy and really shut me down. So yeah, it was really tough. I think Assassinate was the best play. He only had 3 vehicles, so there's only 9 points there. Would only got, I think, 8 points on no prisoners. And then he's also got tons of things to deny me on psychic secondaries as well. So Assassinate I could at least get 10 with. And to be honest, if I can get to the characters, realistically, I should be able to take them out with my monsters. The Eldari one with Stranglehold, Bring Them Down, and Wrath of Cain, which is killing stuff with Aspect Warriors and melee and shooting, I think it was. Yeah, so there we go. Now let's take a look at his list and see what we are facing off against. So it was the Oathwee Craft World, and then they had a Seer Council. Eldrad was there with Guide and Doom and Executioner. Then we had a Fire Seer who was there to assist with Eldrad, and he had the Ghost Helm of Ali Shazir, I think is how you say it. And then we had Karandras, 19 Guardian Defenders, 2 units of 5 Rangers, 6 Fire Dragons with the Dragon's Fury Relic for the Exarch, I think it was. And then we had 2 units of 5 Howling Banshees, 2 units of 5 Striking Scorpions, 5 Warp Spiders, a Falcon with the Eldari Missile Launcher, Pulse Laser, Seer Stones, 2 Night Spinners, and then also a Wave Serpent. So this was my first matchup against the new Eldar since the book came out, and actually my first match against Eldar 9th edition, I think. I don't think I've played them at all, now that I think about it. But anyway, so tons of forward deploying bodies. This list was going to be a challenge for me to face. So with my deployment, I know I mentioned earlier that I was hoping not to make a mistake being aggressive, but with all the squishy bodies, I put all my hero duels right up on the line, really hoping for that first turn, because had I have got it, I realistically would have been able to take out the vast majority of forward deploying units, with my Harridan being able to take out the vehicles, and then my Hive Tyrant would have easily made it to one of his Psychers and been able to get him taken out for some points, and then have all his infantry stuck in the backfield, with him having to make a hard decision on where to put the Fire Dragons coming in that stinking drop pod Falcon. It's actually very cool that they can do that, but being on the receiving end, not so cool. So deploying aggressively, I took a risk with it. In hindsight, I should have deployed more defensively and allow myself kind of take out a few things and not allow him the opportunity to hit my lines if he got first turn, which is what happened. So he got first turn, and essentially what it came down to is all of the Howling Banshees got out. All of these Scorpions made the charge with the Howling Banshees being able to come out there 6 inches from, or however far it is from the vehicle, and then advance and still charge. And yeah, so they came flying across and they made a decent charge in. The Howling Banshees as well, just declaring a charge against me, even though even if they didn't make it, turned off my Overwatch with the hero duels, which really sucked. And yeah, they hit my lines hard. The other huge thing that happened is he dropped his Falcon in the center of the table, and the Fire Dragons got out, and they had an extra 4 inches with the range. So no matter really where they came, they'd be shooting at my Harridan, with it being so big. And they took out my Harridan. So between that and taking a few more wounds from Eldritch Storm, which it was going to happen anyway. So Eldritch Storm came in, slapped some mortals onto my Harridan, my Malceptor, and my hero duel, just with those big bases and like this deployment area, it was hard to fit everything together. I was going to use the Maleceptor strat to help against the fire dragons. Now this was an error on my part. I was thinking that all the fusion guns were strength 8. They were strength 9, and my opponent very clearly told me at the start, but when I was deploying, I wasn't thinking straight, and then in my head, for whatever reason, I got it in that they were strength 8 again, so I was going to use that. So it clumped up a little bit, but that wasn't really the major mistake here. The major mistake was rolling my dice very poorly. I know that's a lame excuse, but it was one of those games as well. So my Harridan fell to the fire dragons. Just 3 of them did collectively 20 wounds, so it was insane. My opponent's dice were on fire, and I actually didn't make a single invulnerable save my entire first turn. I kid you not. It was awful. So I ended up losing the Maleceptor, the Harridan. One of my hero duels was down to 4 wounds. I lost 3 warriors. So it was just a rough go. And my opponent, though, wonderful guy to play with. He's been someone that I've been wanting to have a game with for a while. Very skilled at the game. So it made it a ton of fun, even though I was on the very unfortunate end of everything. So then into my turn, I thought, okay, I'm not going to give up. Still a chance to hit back here. There's a lot of squishy bodies. I can do some damage here if things go right. So into my turn, I've got the Howling Banshees, a unit of Scorpions tying up with to the last hero duel. My other one up at the other end of the board was moving in to charge Karandras, who had made it over and taken out my warriors, and flame into the middle with the hero duel to take out the fire dragons. That was a game plan. And then my Hive Tyrant was going to launch, take out the fire dragons and the Falcon just to get rid of the heavy hitting stuff, because if I can get rid of that, I feel okay. Oh, and the warp spiders were still lurking around a building too. Man, their movement is crazy. So to be honest, I just gave up on trying to track them down. Get rid of everything else, establish yourself back in the game, go from there. So my luck continued to go downhill. I didn't make a single psychic power, except I used a smite and I killed a Howling Banshee. That's it. So I didn't get any of my powers off. So it was really unfortunate there. I lost my Maleceptor, so I lost my Catalyst. My Hive Tyrant ended up he landed right where I wanted him, so he's in the middle. It's going to be a little bit of saving grace. Hit Swarmlord by the hero duel to come in and finish off some Banshees, hopefully. Then it came time to use my Flamers, so I flamed into the middle with my hero duel on the far right of the table. Was going for Karandras. Got, I think, 13 hits and ended up killing 3 fire dragons, and that was it. So it was really rough. I was like, okay, all right, I'm okay. So then the other hero duel fired. Got, I think, 14 hits against the Howling Banshees and melee. So I was like, all right, this will do it. There's only 5 of them. I rolled 7 ones. I kid you not, for my wound rolls. And then he proceeds to save all but 2. So I killed a collective 2 Howling Banshees from that. So that was unfortunately the story of this game. And again, not to make it sound like an excuse, it happens. So you gotta try to play and do damage control. It's, in the end, it is a dice game. And I did my best to try and claw back, but at this point, I was like, oh, this is over, but I'm going to do what I can, try and score a few more points. So my Hive Tyrant then multi-charged at the Fire Dragons and the Falcon, and he was like, what the heck, I'll spend my last command point, as he spent a ton, on Overwatch, and didn't he do 8 wounds to my Hive Tyrant charging in. So my Hive Tyrant was down to 4 wounds, charged in, killed 2 fire dragons with all of his extra attacks. And then I used a fight again because I was like, I'm going to kill this Falcon. I'm just going to do some damage here, hopefully take out some stuff. And did 4 wounds to the Falcon. And he didn't even have to roll saves rolls. That was just me not wounding. Oh, it was one of those games. The worst part too is, had I have pulled out a victory here, which I really do think was possible, especially if I got first turn, or if my dice would be even remotely kind to me, I do think I would have scored some more points here and gave a much better game. And my opponent even said too, he would love to have a rematch one day. That way we can actually have a good game, because he said he was looking forward to playing me as well. So again, never mind taking a loss, especially when playing a good opponent, and certainly not taking anything away from him, as he played a very skilled game, even with my dice not being so kind to me. He actually told me going into the match, his game plan was to roll 6s, and he stuck to that. So he warned me going in. I knew what was going on. But all jokes aside, unfortunately, this set me behind a little bit on the rankings. But I still had my my tournament goal to make, going 3 and 2 at minimum at the event. So that dream was still not lost. The final score in the end, he ended up actually tabling me all said and done. It's just I did kill Karandras, getting me a few points on the board and also getting some engage points. So racked up a solid 15 points to 94 for the Eldari. So good game by them. So they were off to face the Harlequins to see who the Harlequins I'd actually played earlier to see who would take first and second. So it was kind of cool that I got to play the first and second place army and gave a good game to the Harlequins. Unfortunately, not so much for the Eldari. I would have loved to at least given them a good match going in, but he told me that I had skyrocketed his confidence after all that rolling. So it's all good. We've got to reset. These losses happen, and it's actually good having it happen at a GT2, as it really makes you think too. Like you can't get down on that. You got to reset quick going into the next match, which is again a good experience just to have. So I was getting a little taste of everything, which in my eyes perfectly okay. And you got to roll with those punches, right? Or roll with them getting punched. So we're into round 5. This is the big one for me. I win this, and I achieve my goal of going 3-2 at minimum at the event. And I'm hopefully going to keep that dream alive. So let's jump into round 5 and see if did my luck turn around? Am I going to have another rough game, or are we going to drive back into the driver's seat and take control here? All right, into round 5 against the Thousand Suns. So playing against Tyranids from Wrathreach Gaming. So I played a fair few matches with him before, so it was cool to have a matchup with the Wrathreach folks. Always love having a game in with them. So we were playing Tear Down Their Icons. Hold 1, Hold 2, Hold More, and Detonation. This was the bomb mission. I went with my 3 secondaries again. To be honest, like I said, I haven't had a bad game with them. So I'm gonna go. Oh, sorry. My secondaries kind of changed a little bit. Is assassinate and bring them down, kind of swapped out. So when I say my 3 secondaries, pretty much that seems to be what I've been taking. So I use those 4 collectively for the tournament, being that it had a few characters. So taking them out, I think would get me 10 points. I think it was. I think there was a few characters, but again, not an action heavy faction or list that I had here. So went with those. It seemed like a solid play. Thousand Suns went with Stranglehold. Bring them down. Obviously, everyone takes that. That means easy set of points if you can do the killing. And Mutate Landscape was what he went with. Now let's take a look at his list and see what we are facing off against. So it was the Cult of Duplicity. And we had Arman in there with Glamorous Zeech, Presage, Weaver of Fates, and Otherworldly Prescience. An Exalted Sorcerer with Zeech's Firestorm, Dual Bolt, Baleful Devolution, Lord of Forbidden Lore, and he was on a disc. An Infernal Master with Empiric Guidance, Glimpse of Eternity, and Malefic Maelstrom. Then we had 4 units of Rubric Marines. 1 was fully kitted out with Flamers. And then we had tons of Terminators. So we had 2 units of 10 Terminators with their missiles and 2 Assault Reaper cannons in each. And then we had the old Forge Fiend with those Ectoplasm cannons. So I think there was 3 of them all together. So that was his list. So going into this one, we had played a fair amount of games before in the past, so a little spoiler alert, I've gotten the better of him, so he was out for revenge here in this one, and he was looking to take old Harry Dan down. So he's seen it in action on the stream. He knew the tricks. He was ready to take him out. So after rolling for the initiative and rolling the same number 3 times in a row, the Thousand Suns came ahead finally in our 4th roll, and they got first turn. So Thousand Suns in this one came out swinging, so I did deploy in such a way that my Harridan would be protected from the Flamers teleporting in. I know they can get some shenanigans, getting some extra +1 to wound and those sort of things. So Flamers, Harridan don't like, so we deployed in such a way to get away from them. However, with all the volume of fire coming in at my Hero Duel, who was the one blocking the Harridan from getting flamed with those guys teleporting in, he unfortunately was taken out, and then my opponent as well spread out on the bottom part of the table with his Terminators, taking some ground there, and the Harridan took some hits, and and my dice came back for me in this game, so made the majority of my invul saves, which was nice. I think I took 8 wounds collectively, so he did do some damage to him, but the Harridan lived, which was the big thing, and obviously staying at the top bracket is the most important thing. Actually, I think he did a bit more wounds than that. I can't remember specifically, but he didn't bracket him, and that was the important thing for me. So on my next turn, the clapback was pretty hard. I had my hero duel that was alive until the last one head towards the middle of the table. Needed, I think, an 8-inch charge or 7-inch charge to make it into combat. My Hive Tyrant was slingshotted by Swarmlord to jump in at the disc sorcerer who was behind the Terminators in the center of the board, who came forward to fight Harry Dan. They're all buffed up with some -1 to hit and a 4-up invul, I think it was. And then Swarm was kind of in the middle. Then the Harridan stayed in the air, flew straight ahead to my top right by my warriors on an objective there. So they blew up the Harridan blew up the Forge Fiend, and then my Hive Tyrant and the Hero Duel made it into combat. So the Hero Duel went at the Flamers. He chose to Overwatch at the Hive Tyrant, being that it needs 6s to win the Hero Duel, and he really didn't feel like a ton was going to happen there. So the Hero Duel charged and mopped up all of the Flamer guys, and then I multi-charged the Disc Sorcerer and the Terminators, so breaking through and slammed the character out. Then fought in and killed just 2 Terminators, so he rolled absurdly good. I had 11 wounds go through against him with using some strats, and he saved them all in that 4-up in the middle there. So then he attacked back, and I think he did 1 wound to the Hive Tyrant. And then I spent 3 CP because I was like, all right, I got to kill something here because they could potentially teleport away. And I ended up killing 2 more. So, or sorry, 1 more. So I killed 3 of them at the cost of 4 CP. Yeah, 4 CP because I have Voracious and Fighting again. So pretty good trade for him there. So he still had tons of Terminators alive in the middle. The Harridan was alive. He got Catalyst off on him and the 4-up invul. So he was sitting quite healthy, and the main threat to him taken out, as well as a Terminator squad being tied up. And being in the top right of the table, his other Terminator unit couldn't quite reach him outside of their missiles. The one other thing to mention too, the big thing that came in clutch actually twice in this match was on the first turn as well. He tried to take away the Harridan's invul save, which would have been huge, but I used the Leviathan strat, got the 4-up, and shut that power down. So then the next turn, the same sort of thing happened in the middle. The Terminators tried to teleport, and I failed my deny, then rolled my 4-up Leviathan strat, and boom, shut that down. So I got to stay locked in with those guys against the Hive Tyrant and the Hero Duel. So we stayed in combat there with them. So yeah, so there they were stuck, and that was a big deal because then the Hive Tyrant and Hero Duel absolutely mopped up that squad. A few shots came with the Harridan, but nothing became of that. And then the next turn, it all kind of came crashing down for the Thousand Suns as my Harridan finished off the mass majority of the other Terminator squad. The Hive Tyrant jumped back, breaking through on our men, took him out handedly, and then my other, Swarmlord came up and killed the other Rubric squad that was there. And then all that was left was the Exalted Sorcerer, I think it was, and 2 5-man Rubric squads, which the Harridan and everyone else took out quite quickly. So that was the end of the match. It started out actually very good for the Thousand Suns. I won't lie, I was sweating for a little bit there, as he did actually do a ton of wounds to the Harridan, now that I recall. The first turn didn't bracket, I think he was down to 19 wounds. So he did a significant amount of damage. Again, taking out that invul would have been major, as like I said, I did make a lot of invul saves for the high damage stuff coming through. And killing that Hero Duel right off the rip too, that kind of hurt. But the end score was 89-43 for the Tyranids. So that put me at my goal, and we made it. We did it. We went 3-2 at the event. Definitely could have hit that 4-1, but like I said, that was my optimistic goal. We hit the realistic goal for my first event ever, and again, having tons of challenging armies and very skilled players as well. I think 3-2 is very respectable, and I had learned an absolute ton from this, and I'm so excited to head into my next GT, which hopefully should be the end of May with the new Tyranid book, which is awesome. But that's it. We're going to head back home now. It's been a long weekend. Actually, I've been told that with playing an event like this, you either hit the end of it and you're so tired you're just going to fall over, or you're just super amped and you're ready to play Warhammer, which was me until I got home, and then I was just super tired. I just wanted to fall over. But that was it. So amazing weekend. We're going to head back home. I'm going to collect my thoughts, and I'm just going to have a little chat just about my overall thoughts about the event. And if you're still watching at this point, like I said, I'm going to work on improving the quality of these recaps and talking about the event, getting some better photos and show off a little bit more of the table as well. So it was my first one there. I was really absorbed in the atmosphere and dropped the ball a little on that. So hope you forgive me. And if you watch this far, definitely leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought of this style of videos. I'd love to do more of them and again present a nice quality report and also show off a little bit of the event too. Like I said, it's a wonderful event, very cool to be a part of the community that's going on down here for competitive 40K. And like I said, I just want to show that off. It's so many great people, good community, and a wonderful shop putting these events on. So we're gonna head back home now and take a look and talk about my final thoughts before we close off this video. All right, everyone, we're back home. That's the GT. Hope you really enjoyed the recap on all the games there. So I'm going to just talk about my final thoughts about my list and potentially any changes that I would make, and just again quickly about the experience on a whole. So first GT, it was incredible. Just the experience and the environment. We're very fortunate with our local scene here that everyone is so good to game with, especially in the games too, where I faced off against the Harlequins and Eldar and did not fare as well. But opponents were just an absolute joy to play with, and it's really good too because playing against some more experienced players as well, it wasn't just kind of like they did some wild plays and then boom, you move on. Like they would kind of talk you through stuff, or if we made some moves and then afterwards we'd even just say like, what do you think? Like, was this move a good play to make? Like, could I have done something differently? And then they would give you your thoughts on it. So really cool, an amazing environment, especially very friendly for newer players too. Like, I'm obviously been playing 40K for a long time, but for anyone who's new to just getting out with some people, well, there are tough lists and stuff there. The people that you game with is wonderful. So very fortunate again to have such a wonderful community to enjoy the competitive world of 40K with, and I'm glad to be finally getting more involved with that. So big shout out as well to the deck box for Josh putting that on. Like I said, fantastic event. I can't wait for the next one. As of right now, it's looking like I should be able to make it. It's going to be in May. Can't wait to go back and see how everything's going to evolve, because obviously new Tyranids will be out there, so hopefully we're the new sauce. But yeah, so before we talk about new Tyranids in any sort of list or anything like that, let's talk about my list and how it performed. So overall, everything worked exactly how I had hoped it to. Going up against new 9th edition codexes is always going to be a challenge. And I mentioned earlier some of my mistakes in deployment that I think may not have swung the game entirely in my favor. However, it could have gained me some more points and helped place me up the leaderboard a little bit, especially in the Eldar game where I only scored 15 points. So being a bit more defensive, like I mentioned, definitely could have changed things up. Harridan was wicked. Like I always say with it, it's so much fun to run. It's an absolute monster on the table. And honestly, even when I'm losing, it's just fun kind of keeping it alive and see if the opponent could take down the big dragon as well. So very cool. It is, going into it, I know it's always a big risk taking the Harridan and losing it turn one like that one game. It's awful. But the dice don't always spike like that. So it's more rare that it happens. So, but in terms of changing my list up with the current Tyranid rules, I don't think I would change too much. I do think potentially going double Tyrant, double Demicairn might have fared off a little bit better. It's so hard to say though, because again, it was my first time facing off against the new books, and the Harridan did very well against the Harlequins. I was impressed. Now the downside is there is seeming to be a shift in having a lot of OPSEC bodies, and the new books seem to be very fast. Faster than Tyranid's already a fast army, but I find the new, especially Eldar, are very quick and can quickly swarm into your deployment as well, which is can be overwhelming, especially with my list, which excels at killing elite based armies with such high damage attacks and the volume that we can output. We can clear some chaff stuff pretty effectively, but we certainly excel at killing elite units, like with the hero duels, the Harridan shooting in particular. There's a lot of shots. And the Tyrant does have a crazy amount of damage and is able to launch in there early. So looking at the Harridan itself, if I was to make any adjustments with the Harridan list and keeping the Harridan in play, potentially I think I would take out a hero duel. I wasn't overly impressed with having 2 of them. Again, not having the bodies out there, like some extra warriors or something to take objectives and everything, I'd probably swap one of them out in place of a Hive Tyrant, and likely spend another CP and have a Synaptic Blade Tyrant potentially. Either that, or maybe even try and toss in some more warriors. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I think having another Tyrant for the speed would be really good. I know hero duels are fast, but their bases are big, so it definitely limits a little bit where they can go, and also makes it a little easier for the opponent to get to them, and also much harder for them to hide. And that was the other thing too. Terrain was fantastic at this event, so no complaints or anything there. I played a few events, and this is hands down some of the best terrain setup that I've had. There's always places to hide, but in saying that, I wasn't able to take advantage of it fully because I had multiple 18 wound models, and they're very big. So with that in mind, swapping it for another Tyrant would have gave me a bit more defensive capability, and I think that would have been a little bit more effective for me. And I had to deploy quite aggressively with the hero duels sometimes because, again, they couldn't hide anywhere. So sitting far back and still getting hit by stuff, there's no point when I can just put them forward, and then if I do get the first turn, I can be more aggressive. But there's always that big risk, of course, going back to that Elder game, having them on the line. Because if I got first turn, I do think the game would have been heavily in my favor. Well, if I could roll dice good, if I got first turn, of course. That was a rough showing. But yeah, so it's high risk, high reward, I think, with hero duels sometimes, at least to the shift in the gameplay in my competitive scene. So that's my thoughts on the list. Overall, very happy with how it played. I love using the Harridan, and I'm really glad I got that kind of final showing with it. I am going to have one more chance to run it with the current book before the new book drops within 2 weeks, which is awesome. Pre-ordered this weekend coming. So very excited for that. And I am in the Wrath Reach stream event, so doing one last run with the book, current book and everything against the Custodes, see if I can make through the semifinals. It's going to be a tough game. I would talk to my opponent, very excited to play against him. Really great guy, and we decided I was going to switch it up and bring a different list, but we're going to go with the Harridan. So he said he wants to face it, and I'm always down to see if we can keep the run going with the Harridan. And like I said, it's so much fun to use, and just see if we can make it through the Custode. So it's going to be a fantastic game, so tune in for that. I'll be sharing that on the community page on the YouTube channel. But back to talking about the GT, I really don't have a whole lot more to say other than it was just a wonderful time. It was unfortunate just getting paired up with Harlequins early, obviously, in terms of placement and everything. But I am very happy with how I did against them. They are a tough army. Played against an incredibly skilled opponent too. So being able to take out a ton of stuff and take some ground and really put up a strong fight. It wasn't until the bottom of turn 4 that things really started to fall apart. But up until that point, I felt there was an honest chance that I could pull it a win, or at least if losing by a very small margin. So it was really cool to play against a hard army and at least feel like I had a shot. And that was the cool thing. I know going to that game and potentially some of the other matchups I could be facing, that there's a high probability I lose, but the fact is that there is a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. But it's very cool knowing that, and the fact that I got to do that, it was really cool, and it made me very happy. So overall, like I said, before, my goal was to go 4-1 optimistically. Realistically, 3-2 was my goal, and I would be completely satisfied with that, and I achieved that goal. So I'm very happy with the results. And again, it was just a ton of fun getting out and getting more involved with the community, getting to know some more gamers as well. So to those of you that are watching the videos that I met there, it was fantastic meeting you. Hopefully one day you can come up to the basement and game here, or I can travel down and game with you wherever you are. So excited to see everyone once again at the next GT event. That's pretty much it, everyone. I don't have a lot more to say. It was wonderful. Very cool experience. My first 2-day event, and I am very, very excited for the next one. So it'll be with a new Tyranid book, obviously, and you'll see tons of videos with that. So very excited to, I've been saying excited a lot because I'm very excited. Hope you all enjoyed this recap. I'm working on improving as well. I'll try and get some better videos next time around to recap everything and improve the quality and presentation with these. Because I know the tournament recaps are a lot of fun for those curious how I listed, and for those who perhaps are from not here that want to kind of check out the scene and see what it looks like. So I will do my best to improve upon that. as ideally we'll be attending a lot more of these events. So thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate your support so much. Don't forget to check me out on the stream this weekend, Rats Reach. So I'll be sharing tons of links for that. So just stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the links, how you can view that on the Rats Reach Twitch channel. So we'll see you in the next video. Good day and thank you.